Hello, today I am working on the electronic case. I started with this thick piece of cardboard. You can see I'm working through it. It was just a big piece I had laying around. I used it to start cutting the form. It was a little bit thick, a little bit tough to work with. In fact, I'll switch here in a minute to my video. I'll switch over to where I switched to a thin Kleenex box. Much easier to work with, but this gave me a nice form to start with. My goal is to get something where I can fit all of my electronics and keep them all hidden. So it'll be a little bit deeper than some I've seen available online, but also a little bit farther in the seat. So I've completed my template. You can see roughly what I've done. I've actually just bent out of cardboard. I have it overlapping on the edges. My plan is to use the frame bolts here. There's a frame bolt hole here. I've put my components in here. I have my purpose-built Moto black box and fuse. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to go in there. Batteries here, regulator here. This Rick's regulator, I'll either put on the inside or outside. I'm not sure yet. People say it needs airflow, so I've set up for both. But rough shape is here. Looks pretty good. Coming out on the side, you can see it drops down a little bit. I'm okay with that. I think that looks cool still. I will powder coat it black. You can see I use the Kleenex box for that. But now I'll trace that. I'll use the cardboard as a pattern and cut it out of sheet metal. Okay, now at this point I am tracing out a pattern. I can see as I lay this out, it is not very even. I'll have to work through a lot of that as I'm cutting. I used just a simple grinder to cut the sheet metal. This is a thin gauge. I can't remember the exact gauge it is, but it's less than 1/4 inch. But cut this out. I trimmed out my lines. I probably could have used some tin snips to do some of this work. In fact, to trim it up towards the end, I did. But then I got into an issue where I had to flatten it out not using my vise. It was too deep with my vise because of the overhang. So I found this old pallet. I wanted to get a nice flat edge. And so I found the pallet and connected it there. And honestly, it worked well. It worked better than I thought. I'll be interested to see how it works out after I get a little paint on it. I'm not going to powder coat it right now, just because I don't know how it's going to turn out. You can see some of the hammer marks. But I brought it out to the vise now that I got a little bit and I could trim it up. And you'll see it took a little bit of effort because I trimmed, I checked, I used the flapper wheel to get some of those sharp edges off. But in the end, my box, it's turned out okay. You'll see me trimming here, and what I did is I would go back and forth. I was right outside the garage door and trimmed it up, worked it out, had to come back out and test. I test fitted repeatedly as I was going. But you'll see here in a bit, it turned out to be a nice little fit. The vise ended up working quite well. It would have been nice if I had a big press brake, right? Then I had a flat edge, straight shot, but I don't. So I'm using the tools that I have available to me, and I think that'll be useful for a lot of us. So now you can see I've got it in. It does hang down a little bit. I'm going to paint that black. A little rough on the edges.
Hey,
I'm hopeful that when I paint it, it's not quite as visible. But I do like the space it gives me. I created a cardboard box for the lithium ion size battery, regulator, all the electronics inside there. I'll put the seat over top to give me plenty of space, and honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with how this has turned out. So now that I can see that it fit in there, I clamped down, punched some holes for my bolts, and I'm ready to go. So electronics tray, I'm going to call it done. I'll paint it at some point, probably with some other items, and see how it goes. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy.